History channel. Tonight's video is going to be my 2022 NRL Grand Final preview video. I'm also going to be giving my prediction and the Clive Churchill medal winner. For the players of both sides, the 34 players involved, this has been nearly a year in the making. These two clubs would have started pre-season training back in November of 2021. For us as fans, the season starts in February with the trials, but for the players, they've worked all the way through the back end of last year and all the way through this year to make the final game of the season. It's going to be a massive grand final between Penrith and Parramatta, so let's get straight into it. The 2022 NRL Grand Final is kicking off on Sunday night, Australian time, around about 8:15, and for me in England, the match will be kicking off at 9:30 in the morning, so I'll be up early, definitely watching this match. This is the first ever grand final meeting between Penrith and Parramatta, and this will be the fifth finals meeting between the two sides. And the two sides have previously met in 1985 and 2000. Parramatta won both of them, and then 2021, and in the qualifying final for 2022, Penrith won that. So this is the fifth meeting between the two sides. This will be Penrith's sixth grand final since they come into the competition in 1967. And as for Parramatta, this will be their 10th grand final that they've competed in since they entered the competition in 1940. So all the stats heading into this match between the two sides. Penrith, this is their third straight grand final in a row. As for Parramatta, since 1986, we all know the Premiership drought, 36 year. They've competed in two grand finals since then. 2001, where they were, I think, a dollar favourite to beat Newcastle, and Newcastle pulled off one of the biggest upsets in New South Wales Rugby League NRL Grand Final history, beating Parramatta 30 points to 24. And then, of course, they made it in 2009, where they were beaten 23 points to 16 by Melbourne. But we later found out that Melbourne were about $4 million Australian over the salary cap, and they pretty much fielded an illegal team, which, if they would have made the grand final, would have looked entirely different to the one that actually played against Parramatta. So this is Parramatta's first grand final in 13 years. Another interesting stat which I haven't seen brought up anywhere, either through NRL Online, or even through some of the independent YouTubers are out like that, is Parramatta have not scored a first half try in a grand final since 1983 when they beat Manly. Because in the 1986 grand final, as we know, that were a trialist grand final, 4 points to 2, Parramatta beat Canterbury Bankstown at the SCG. And then in 2001, they were down 24-0 at half time against Newcastle, and then in 2009 they were down 10 points to 0 against Melbourne. Looking at the team news for both sides, for Penrith, I think the only possible change that will happen in their squad is Taylor May, who was suspended, and he also had hamstring complaints. He could potentially replace Charlie Staines on the wing. And also there's a bit of a cloud over Spencer Leniu after he was hit in a very high and deliberate tackle by Tony Milne. He'll have a HIA, but I think that he should be okay to play. As for Parramatta, the only change that I think will happen is whether Tom Opacek can be fit for the grand final. Other than that, I would love to see Nathan Brown make it on the bench for Parramatta, but I think once again Brad Arthur will stick with Jacob Arthur in that 15 jersey on the bench. Jacob Arthur didn't even play a single second in the preliminary final against North Queensland, but I think Brad Arthur's going to keep him on the bench just in case something happens to Mitchell Moses or Dylan Brown. For this grand final, I think obviously Penrith will be sharp price favourites, and they're well-deserved sharp price favourites. They've only lost 3 matches for the entire year. They've been the best team all year. They won the minor premiership or the league leaders shield in convincing fashion. Even in that preliminary final when they were down 12-0 against South, there was no panic in that squad whatsoever, and they scored 32 unanswered points to reach the grand final. With Parramatta, they will go in as the outsiders for this game. They've had an up and down season. When they're on, they're one of the best teams in the competition. When they're off, they're one of the worst teams in the competition. They deserve to finish in the top 4 this year. They put in some very good performances, and they have beaten Penrith twice this year, so they will go in as the outsider, but not the distant outsider. They are in a lot of people's minds, a chance of winning this grand final. Looking at how the two teams could potentially win this grand final, I think starting with Penrith, if they're to win this grand final, then I think they just have to continue what they've been doing throughout the entire year. Their experience at this time of the year now, for a lot of the players, it's going to be their third grand final. I think their defence has been the best in the competition for the entire year. That's one way that they'll win this grand final. I think also another way that they will win this grand final is through Nathan Cleary, and especially his kicking game and them spiral kicks. I think that him and Matt Burton have the best spiral kicks / bombs in the competition. And one thing I've noticed about Nathan Cleary, he tests both wingers and the fullback quite early on with them spiral kicks, and when someone drops the ball or looks unsteady underneath it, he attacks them for the entire match. We saw him go after Wonga Blake in the opening finals match, and then we saw him go after Tani Milne, and last year he did the same thing against Josh Mansour towards the back end of the year when they played against South. So I think with Penrith, that's how they'll win, just through their defence, Nathan Cleary's kicking game, and just the experience throughout the entire squad. For Parramatta, for them to win this grand final, they have to start well. That's a must, because I've seen them play 2001 and 2009 grand finals, and they started poorly in both of those matches. They got stage fright, they were overwhelmed by the opposition, and it weren't right until the second half that they started to click in the gear. And in 2001 and 2009, if there was more time on the clock, they might have won them two grand finals, but unfortunately rugby league goes to 80 minutes and they just fell short in both of those deciders. I think also with the way that Penrith play, Parramatta just have to go set with them. They have to make pretty much no errors, and I think that they also have to score first in this match to really just ease the nerves and to put Penrith on the back foot, because I remember in 2020 Penrith were the best side all year along with Melbourne. But when it came to the grand final, Melbourne got a couple of early tries in that grand final, and it forced Penrith to change their game plan and to try to force their hand a bit, and that's where they come up with a few errors, and I think that's where definitely Parramatta could unsettle them. I also think that especially the spine for Parramatta, Gutherson, Brown, Moses and Marnie, they all have to be on point on Sunday. Not one of them can afford to have a bad game. They've all got to have pretty much the game of their life, I think, if they're to beat Penrith. Looking at the odds myself for this match, I think Penrith, you could probably see are a 75% chance of winning this grand final. Parramatta have about a 25% chance, but I was listening to the Fago and the Freak podcast the other week, and League Freak's a Penrith supporter, and he did say that when it comes to grand finals, it's 50-50, and it's just whoever shows up on the day. And hopefully for I think that the Parramatta fans, and I think that they will, on grand final day, they will outnumber the Penrith fans quite significantly. I think for their sake, they're hoping that Parramatta put in a much better performance than they did in 2001 and 2009. As for a prediction for this match, my head says Penrith, but my heart says Parramatta, because obviously I'm a Para supporter. If you're a betting person, I think your smart money wouldn't be to go on Penrith. But if you were looking to maybe get some value for the bet and then maybe score big, then maybe just put a bit of money on Parramatta for this game. If Penrith are to win, I think that they'll win 1-12, and I think that the Clive Churchill medalists will either go to Dylan Edwards or Nathan Cleary. And if Parramatta are to win, hopefully, I think that they'll also win by 1-12 points. I think this will be a very tight match. I don't think there'll be much in it, but if Parramatta do win the 2022 NRL Grand Final, then I think that either Dylan Brown or Reid Marnie will get the Clive Churchill medal winner. So anyways, everyone, that's been my preview of the 2022 NRL Grand Final. Thanks for tuning in for this video, and thanks for watching my videos throughout the entire year. There's plenty more to come on this channel. I've got the Rugby League YouTuber End of Season Awards, and I've also got the podcast on Wednesday with Just Rugby League. We do the View from the North podcast, talking all things in the English game. And I'll also be doing my 2022 NRL season reviews. They'll be coming out. So let me know in the comment section below, who do you think's going to win on Sunday? Is it going to be Penrith, the Licorice All-Stars, or is it going to be Parramatta? Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll catch us all later in the next one. Alright, tatty bye for now.